Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited that you're here today. Today I'm actually doing a two-parter video. So the first part, I'm going to be focusing on teaching you how I make my round face look thinner and longer. Just some techniques that I use to try and sculpt my face and make it kind of look a little bit more angular, a little bit longer, a little less round. So for my round face girls, this video is definitely for you, so you'll want to stay tuned. All right, so I have already primed my face with my Milk Hydrogrip primer. This stuff is absolutely incredible. It gives my face a nice stickiness, and it does have hyaluronic acid in it as well, so it does give a little bit of a plumping, which now that I'm into my 30s is something that I think just helps my skin look a little bit more youthful. So we've already primed with our Hydrogrip primer, but I do have a couple other priming steps that I think are pretty important. And one of them is that I actually take the e.l.f. Putty Primer, and I actually use this as a face product. So I just take a little on my finger here, and I've got my mirror right here, so I'm gonna turn. And I put it in areas of my face that get oily. So I am an oily skin girl, and this actually works way better to block some of that oiliness coming through. Eye primer is typically a little bit more waxy than your normal face primer, and so while I love the Hydrogrip because it helps my makeup to last longer and it does give me a little extra juice to my skin, I do need to make sure that I'm controlling for that oil. So I like to use an eye primer to basically create like a waxiness over where I usually get oily, and it helps my makeup last longer. I particularly like to use the e.l.f. Putty Primer because I find that it also is super pore filling, and you know, if you have oily skin, usually you get oiliness where your pores are the biggest. So it's kind of a twofer. And I've found that it really helps just smooth things out and helps keep things from getting oily. Now, the other priming step that I take is I do prime my eyes way early in the process. I just like to do all of my priming at once, and I use the Urban Decay, it's upside down. I use the Urban Decay eyeshadow, oh my God. I use the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. So this is an oldie but a goodie. This one is absolutely something that I just can't live without. This is one of my ride or die products. All right, so we are completely primed. The face is ready, the skin is ready, we're glowing. We're ready to put makeup on it, and my favorite foundation is really especially when I'm looking for a full coverage, like matte, long wearing moment that kind of still looks like real skin. I go with the Loreal Infallible foundation. This one, this one is supposed to have up to 24 hours of wear, and usually I end up wearing it for about 12 to 18 hours. Once I put on my makeup, I wear it all day, and honestly, this one is the one that stays matte. It looks natural. It does have a scent. It does smell pretty bad, actually, but the scent doesn't stick around. So if you're not freaked out by that, I wouldn't be too concerned with it. And I do use a foundation brush because I feel like it makes my foundation look a little bit more skin-like, and it applies much faster. And I am all about finding ways to make my routine go faster because I do still take a really long time to do my makeup. I do go over my nose and my cheeks with a little bit more foundation just to really blank out my skin because that's where I do have the most redness just naturally. So for me, when I am trying to do a look that is going to last all day and stay consistent, I am going to go with a more fuller coverage foundation. It does just, I think, last longer. A mattifying one, because I have oily skin, it'll help my makeup to stay intact and not break down as quickly. Additionally, I find that if I'm really trying to change the structure of my face and really elongate, add a little bit more of a curve to my cheekbones. If I'm trying to look more angular, which is really usually my goal, honestly, because I do have a round face, so those are the things that I'm trying to do with makeup. When I'm trying to recreate the structure of my face. I find that I'm more successful at achieving that look when I'm using a full coverage foundation, because it really is going to hide and blank out everything that's already there and existing, which gives me a firm base to really build upon. This next step is the most important step, in my opinion, when it comes to restructuring the face, and that is, of course, contouring. But it's contouring and highlighting. So we're gonna do that in a couple of different ways. And I like to use cream contour. I think it looks a little bit more natural, and I think that it blends in easier, and especially for anyone that is pale. I find that powder contours just don't come light enough for my skin. I have tried probably every single cream contour product that's out there, and my favorite, especially for pale girls, this is the one that works the best, that matches my complexion the best and looks the most natural. This is the NYX Wonder Stick. And the good news is that it is drugstore, so it's a little bit cheaper than if I were to go and get one of the Kim Kardashian contour sticks, which is another great one and one that I really like. But I mean, that product is like $18 and it doesn't have nearly as much product in the tube. This is comparable. This is a dupe for the KKW contour stick. So don't go spending your money on that, just go straight for the NYX. And the first thing that I'm going to do when I am contouring and trying to lengthen my face and restructure it is I'm always going to try and bring my forehead down as far as I can, because I do have quite a large forehead. Then I am going to structure my cheeks. So this is, like I said, very, very important, probably the most important step. I'm gonna turn slightly to the side here, but I have my mirror right in front of me. So I'm gonna look at my mirror straight ahead, and I'm gonna take this stick, I'll turn so you can see it, right here where my ear hits the rest of my face. And I'm not going to follow, my cheekbone. See, it's pretty low. I'm not gonna follow it all the way, but I am going to make it, instead of going here, I'm gonna go low. I'm trying to lengthen my face, take away from the width, take away from the wideness and the roundness. So I'm gonna take this contour stick here and I'm gonna draw low, like that. Okay, so we are gonna blend it and it's gonna look a little bit better. It's going to make sense. So I'm going to take that stick here and draw down. Try to make them as even as possible. But even if you don't, this is a very forgiving contour stick and it blends really nicely into the skin. So I'll show you in a second when we blend how that helps to lengthen and bring it in my cheekbones. My final step with the contour stick, I'm going to take it and outline my jawline, because I do have a little bit of a double chin here right now, and this just helps to carve out the jawline a little bit more. And I do not use cream contour for my nose, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'll just take my foundation brush again, same brush, flat top kabuki. And this is a Sigma F80 brush. And I'm just going to, in circular motions, blend. And I'm gonna try to blend that as much into the hairline as possible. Next, I'm gonna blend in my cheekbones. So I'm gonna blend up. I'm gonna blend this way. And here I'm gonna blend this way. I'm gonna little circular motions, like little tiny circular motions, but going up the line. It's super, super easy to do with your foundation brush, especially when you're using a cream contour. It's just, that's what the brush is made for. And you'll start to see, you can start to tell where the contour is really bringing my forehead down. It's bringing in my face. It's lengthening things. I have a little bit more of a defined jawline now. So we are going to clean things up a little bit, but there's a few things that we need to do before that. And one of them is highlighting. So we've contoured the face and now we're going to highlight. So I'm going to do that using concealer. And this is like my ride or die concealer. I've tried a lot of different concealers this year and none of them match up to this one. This is the Revolution Conceal and Define So this one is basically a dupe for Shape Tape, but it's about a third of the cost. And y'all know I'm all about saving money. I am first going to do the center of my face. So I'm going to highlight the very center, and I'm not going to go too wide with it because again, I am trying to narrow my face. I'm trying to make it look longer. So I'm not going to go out. I'm going to go kind of down the middle. And to do this, I have a tiny kabuki brush. This is a mini one from Sonia Kashuk, and this is the flat top concealer brush. And I'm just going to pat that in down the center of my face. Okay, so the center of my face is highlighted, and now I'm gonna go in and highlight under my eyes and get rid of some of that purpleness, but I'm not gonna go in crazy heavy. And this is such a pigmented concealer that you really don't need to. So I'm just gonna draw 2 lines underneath my eyes. I'm gonna take that same flat top Sonia Kashuk brush and tap the foundation into place. With this outside concealer, I'm patting it in up in an angular fashion because that does, look, it gave me like an eye lift doing that. Just this simple patting motion this way, it instantly lifts my face and lifts up my eyes. So you can see, tell the difference between the 2 eyes, and all of a sudden I pat this in and I just took like 5 years off my face. I really like this concealer because it doesn't sink into my lines, and I do have some fine lines. You know, underneath my eyes, and that is really important to me, is making sure that my concealer doesn't sink in, that it lays on top very nicely, but doesn't highlight my age. So next I'm going to set my under eye, and I'm really just going to set it very lightly. I'm going to take the Maybelline Fit Me powder, and I'm going to take a very fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to pick up the tiniest amount of powder and lightly stipple that into the skin just to set the concealer into place, because I do have fine lines and I don't want to make myself look older, but I don't want the concealer to go anywhere, and it will crease. So this is really just helping it not to crease too much, while also trying not to add too much texture underneath my eye. Okay, so next I'm going to set my face into place, but just in the areas where I get oily, which is really honestly, it's that T-zone area, it's the apples of my cheeks, and it's here. I'm going to set it so that my face doesn't get as oily, so the oils in my skin don't break down the foundation as quickly, but also because I really like the added amount of coverage you can get out of a powder. And so for this, I use the Cote Airspun powder. This is an oldie but a goodie. You guys know I love this stuff. I do love the smell, although I know a lot of people do not. It reminds me of my grandmother, and I would not be surprised if she uses this. And I know I say that every time I use this, but it's totally true. I'm just taking a big fluffy brush and I'm tapping off as much of the powder as I can, and I'm just gonna go in and I'm stippling. I'm not wiping because I don't want to risk moving the product with the brush. Don't want to move my foundation, and I'm not taking this everywhere because I also, you know, it's just not necessary. And the less product you can use, I think the better. The more product you use, the more texture you add to the face. I think the older you look, the less real you look, and the more you can tell it looks kind of makeup-y. And I don't care about that. I really don't. I don't care about not looking makeup-y. But I do feel like as I get older, if I can get away wearing a little bit less thickness on my skin, it just looks a little bit better. I'm gonna powder the shit out of my nose because it gets so freaking oily, and I feel like that just helps. All right, so next we are going to bronze, and I'm just going to take a domed brush like this and my butter bronzer. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. It has the most amazing smell. It blends super easy. And this is the light bronzer because, again, pale girl problems. In order to continue to lengthen my face, I'm going to shade down my forehead. So blending it between the highlight and the contour that we already laid down. I'm just going to swirl that all over and bronze up my forehead, make it look as small as possible. And I am going to lengthen my cheekbones and lengthen my face even more by using bronzer. And I'm gonna do this by starting here and going down. So I'm actually kind of, the line is this way. It's not to the corner of my mouth or even up here to my cheek. I'm taking this on this angle so it almost looks like it goes below my mouth, and I'm gonna swirl it in. So I'm gonna use a motion that swirls it in towards the center of my face and back and forth, in towards the center, back and forth, just those two motions. And one trick here, I'm actually gonna take it in. Like, you see the difference there? It's super subtle, it's very little product, and I'm almost just lightly swirling it in to add dimension to the face. So you can see both sides, how different they look and how much more angular this side looks than that one, simply by adding a little bronzer, swirling it into the face along that angle. For this angle, I can't hold the brush and show you. It's here, it's here, you know, it's not here and it's not here, it's down. It's about as close to up and down and vertical as you can possibly get without actually drawing a straight line. So again, coming in on that angle. And that really warmed up the face, and look how much, I feel like that really makes my face look so much longer, and it really just adds like an angle. So now, one thing that I've actually recently changed in my routine is I take bronzer and I bronze my nose all over. This bronzer is so light that you can't really tell, but you can tell on camera and you can tell in person that it kind of just darkens up the nose a little bit, so it sends it back, which is kind of what I want because I do have a little bit of an odd shaped nose. It is a little bit lopsided and it's pretty bulbous at the bottom. So I really try to make it look more narrow and also just not as prominent on my face. And I find that this step really helps it to just look a little bit more natural rather than before when it was just highlighted, it looked like, like shining in the center of my nose. Next, I'm gonna contour my nose and just try to like narrow it and bring it in a little bit more. You can use a bronzer for this. I like to use a shade that's as close to my contour as possible, something that has a gray undertone and isn't too dark. So I'm gonna go into my Tarteist Pro Glow palette. Shout out to my friend Colette who gifted this to me. And it smells like chocolate. I'm gonna take a Morphe E62 brush. So it's this angled, fluffy brush. And I'm just going to go in and pick up the smallest amount of product. This is shade Sculpt. And I'm gonna start at the top of my nose here, like where the bottom of my eyebrow is. And I'm going to first shade inwards, bring it in and down. For everyone, this step is going to look very different, as is contouring in general, because you have to work with the shape of your face. And my nose is not even, like it is two different shapes, and my nostrils are even two different shapes. This isn't totally round. It's, if you look at it, one side is kind of bigger than the other. So I have to work with the very specific dimensions of my face in order to make this work. And I would say, like, yes, you can use my routine here, and I think that especially if you have a round face, there's a lot in this video that'll be really helpful for you. But truthfully, you just have to take an honest eye to your own face and take pictures in natural light and in all sorts of different lighting situations and really start to get a sense of your own bone structure in order to craft a contouring and foundation routine that really helps your particular face shape. So next is a critical step to continuing to lengthen that face out. This is the one time in my routine right now where I'm using a beauty blender. And so I like the Morphe sponge because it does have this very straight, flat edge, which I think for this step in particular is absolutely critical. Plus, these are way cheaper than your actual beauty blenders and they work just as well. So I have some powder here in my Cote Airspun cap. I'm just gonna go in with that straight edge and I'm gonna pick up powder onto my sponge. And this is something that I've changed my routine recently that I think is making a huge difference. So instead of baking my face and coming into the corner of my mouth, I am going farther out and trying to use the shade that I added here to continue to narrow my face. So what I'm doing, I'm starting up here by the top of my ear, and I'm gonna drag and curl in right about there. So really trying to emphasize like this is kind of almost the edge of my face, and drawing new cheekbones onto my face. So that adds an additional like narrowness and shape. It makes it less round, where if I were to curve it into my mouth, to the corner of my mouth, that's adding to the width, that's adding to the roundness of my face. Okay, so while we leave that there to set, and it is a bake, but it's really the only part of my face that I bake, and truthfully, I think it's not drying out my face. It's not in any area that can kind of look a little bit more textured or make me look older. It generally just helps to cut the face a little bit more. Next, I go in with my blush, and this is one of my favorite steps. And right now, my favorite blush is actually from the Physicians Formula Holiday Trio. This is the Muru Muru Butter Glow Face palette, and I am absolutely obsessed with this palette. If you haven't tried Physicians Formula's butter products, I really recommend them, and you can get this trio at Target for $10, and these are honestly, if you're my skin tone, these are great shades to start with. And so this shade is in Beachy Peach, and it's become my absolute favorite blush shade. It's so pretty. It just blends in so prettily, and I don't know how I'm ever gonna go back to any other blush. So I'm gonna take my angled blush brush, and I'm gonna go the fat end pointed down towards my chin. So I'm taking it at this angle here, and I'm gonna hold it at the end here, and I'm going to take soft little stippling but brushing circular motions. I'm gonna start here at the base of that hollow and go up. So I'm gonna go up the cheek and blend it into that bronzer. I'll flip my brush the other way. So because it's an angle, you don't want to go up and down on the brush this way. You can turn it sideways and go this way, but you don't want to go up and down because it'll make the application of the product uneven. And again, I'm kind of swirling it in towards the center of my face, similar to the way I did with my bronzer. And I might take it a little bit in on that cheek just to round it out and make it look a little bit more youthful. I like to blush my nose too, but just a little, not too much. And I'll take some blush to the center, just a little to add a glow back. All right, so we've blushed, and it added a little bit of a like lifelike glow back to my cheeks, and especially if you're pale, I feel like blush becomes even more important. I've added my blush back into my cheeks. I've added that flush in to make it look more youthful, glowy, and a little bit plumper. I am now gonna brush off my bake. I'm gonna take my big fluffy brush again, and I'm going to brush off the excess powder. And you see how much that cleaned it up and also lengthened my face. So eyebrows are also a really crucial part to structuring my face, especially since I have blonde eyebrows and you can't normally see them. It's really important that I shape them correctly so that it adds the correct dimension. And additionally, you guys have heard me talk a lot about how I have hooded eyes. So when it comes to having hooded eyes and you want to lift that space, make as much room for all of the eyeshadow and art that you want to create on your eyes, that's where eyebrows become really important. So my favorite brow product, as you know, is the Colourpop Brow Gloss in shade Warm Blonde. It's the one that matches my hair the best. and it stays all day. I don't have to use anything else. Although that honestly could be my blonde brow privilege, that I don't have to glue them or anything. I'm drawing the entire brow in from start to finish. This isn't just shading things up a little bit. Like, I'm drawing it in. I can pretty much shape my eyebrows to be whatever I want, and I recognize my privilege in that. But regardless, this is the only brow product. Regardless, this is the only brow product that I use. So I'm going to show you how I draw in one of my brows here on camera, and I'm going to bring my mirror in. So I like a super rounded eyebrow with a high point about 2/3 out, because I do think that that lifts my brow, or it lifts my eye space. It makes me look a little bit more youthful, and it just gives me more space to play with. So I like to start my eyebrow right about here is where I like the base to be, and I like it to go down and out. So I like to start a little bit more down on an angle, and I take the eyebrow pencil and just start sketching out the bottom. So the high point of the brow, you can see, it's basically on the outside of my iris. So if I'm here, if I'm looking in the camera, the outside of my iris is right in line with the highest point of the brow. I've outlined the brow, and I do it this way because, like I said, I don't really have any brow to speak of. There's a lot of hair there, but there's no color to it. It's all white, almost looks like peach fuzz kind of hair. And that gives me the freedom to really shape my brow however I want. So I outline it and then I shade it in that same color. And you'll notice again, trying to keep that high point about 2/3 out from the start of the eyebrow, and it's lined up with the outside iris of my eye. Okay, so that's one brow done, and you can really, I think you can see the difference in my eye shape just in drawing in the brow with this specific shape, and in bringing it in and a little bit farther in, I've also started to narrow my nose a little bit. So I am going to go off camera and finish the other eyebrow, and I will be right back. Okay, so I am back and the brows are on. I am really liking this brow day. These are looking very, very good, and brows can be like super unpredictable when you're drawing them in from scratch. I just feel like I never get them even, but this is about as close to even as I think you can possibly get. And I'm really liking the roundness. I do like to have very round eyebrows, and I've created a lot of space for me to play with, which I'm very excited about. I usually like to do my eyes before I highlight, but for the purposes of this particular video, where I'm really trying to walk you through how I shade and light my face, how I contour it, how I add plumpness where there needs to be plumpness, and add structure where there needs to be structure, I'm going to do my highlighting step now. I go back and forth on this, but one thing that I think really helps to just make your highlighter pop a little bit more is to set the face beforehand. So this is the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray, and this really helps to melt everything together on the skin. I find that that just helps like get rid of any of the powderiness that you may still have on the face. Not that we used a ton of powder today, honestly, but any kind of powderiness that would have been there is gone. And you guys know that I'm a little extra and I like to use 2 highlighters. So for my first highlighting step, I am going to use this Becca Cosmetics Champagne Pop highlighter. And this is a really perfect, beautiful shade. It's gold, but it's not too gold. It's a little bit rosy. I just really, really love it. And I'm gonna take this fluffy Jaclyn Hill highlighting brush, and I'm gonna go into that, and I am going to highlight down, like down on that angle, continuing to try to bring that face in. Oh, yeah, girl. Ooh. good. Freaking love highlighter so much. I hate being that girl, but I love it. See, and that really added an angle to my face in this area, which helps to lift it. It also just catches the light and looks so damn beautiful. But we are not done highlighting. I am gonna go back to my Physicians Formula Trio palette. And this is shade is exclusive to this palette. This is shade Tropical Sands. And I'm gonna go in with that same brush, pick up some highlight, and I'm gonna go in on the apples of the cheeks, marrying the two highlights together. And this just adds an additional plumpness and roundness, youthfulness to my cheeks. But it also helps to catch the light in such a cool way, especially since I do have round cheeks. I like to call that out. I like to bring them forward, and I think that it does help to bring the face in, and it calls attention to the center rather than calling attention to the outside, which is where you get that really rounded look. Highlighting my nose, the bridge of my nose. And because I'm oily, I never take it in the center because that's where I get oily. I don't want to add shine, but I do like to add here. Coming up from like that, the topmost arch of my eyebrow up, about 2/3 up, because then it just helps to catch the light. When I turn, you see that, boom, highlight. She's shiny. And my Cupid's bow. I have thin lips, so I really try to highlight to add contour and shape to them, and I think that that looks really nice. Okay, so I'm going to set the face one more time using that same setting spray. Okay, so that completes the skin. That is everything that I do to my skin. That's my foundation, my contour, my highlighting routine. I really feel like I have structured my face in a way that brings it in, highlights the center of the face, de-emphasizes the outside so that it's de-emphasizing the roundness of the face, while still looking natural, while still looking like me, and not looking like I've over makeuped myself. I think that I found products that really, really work for me. And so I'm really liking where this is going so far. I am going to jump and go do my eyes, so I will be right back. Hey guys, so editing Katey here. I forgot to film an ending to this video. I hate to jump in like this, but I hope that this video was informative and helpful, and I hope that it helps you to see what I do every day to shape my face and get my skin ready for the rest of my look. So I had a really good time making this video, and it is now officially 2021. So welcome to the new year. We did it. And I hate when people say shit like that. It makes me so insane. And I'm sorry, this is so shaky. I'm just doing this on my phone. But anyways, I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm so grateful that you spent your time with me today. I love making these videos. It is so fun, and it's just such a creative release for me. I hope that you enjoy these videos as much as I enjoy making them. If you liked this video, please comment down below and let me know if this is something that was helpful for you. And if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. You know, we tend to have, I think, a pretty good time in this channel, and I've got a lot of things that I want to do this year, and just looking forward to a fresh start and a fresh new year. So thank you guys all so much. Thank you to my 85 subscribers. I'm so happy that you're here. It means so much to me, and I hope I will see you all in the next video. Bye!